I'm so thankful that you asked me to come and to be here. I have 15 slides in an hour, and we won't be able to do all of that. And so there's some that you're just going to take home, and you may not ever know what they mean. Unless you're real interested and you want to know and you're intrigued by something on them, and you can call me, or they'll give you my email, and I will respond to you within 2 or 3 days, or we can talk on the phone, and I'll catch you up on what that particular thing on the slide means. Is that good? So here's my deal. If I covered 5 of these today, I'd feel like a hero. And I'm a storyteller, so you'll know that up front. I say, here is the truth, and it comes from a great deal of research, and here's a story to go with it so that perhaps you will remember it. Is that okay for the last session? All right. I will not read them word for word, and there's no tiny little print on them. How many of you have been to a session where there was tiny little print and people read it word for word? Okay. Oh, that's horrible. Shoot me. Okay. So I just want you to see, this is just about a third of the list of people that I look to for research, and it's in a packet. You may recognize some of those names. These ideas came from positive psychology, thankfulness, mindfulness. I understand that maybe in one recently conference that had a lot of mindfulness in it. Was that right? I hope that you took something away from that. Here are some of the things that if you do all 15 slides, you can expect to happen in your life. I would read all of those, but it takes a long time, and nobody can do it in one breath. This is great, but this is pretty good things. The one that is not up there, and I can't believe I left this one off, is that you have better sex. Okay, now I have your attention, don't I? All right, so I'm going to skip through these, and I'm going to get to the first one that I want you to talk about, and it is about love. What happens in 2 days? Valentine's Day, okay? So here's your question. Just answer it with somebody at your table. Flowers, chocolate, or both? You ready? 1, 2, 3. Would you share that with somebody? How many people just wanted the flowers? Let's see that. Just flowers? Okay, thank you, dear. 2 people. How many wanted, show me the chocolate? Where are those people? How many goes, oh, heck no, I want both of them. Let's see those hands. There you go. I hope you get both of them. So it's the month of love, the day of love. So if you don't have anybody to share it with, then maybe just make up somebody and buy dinner for 2, and you can have a conversation. Only do it at the back of the restaurant, or somebody from my place will come and screen you. One of the most critical needs that we have as human beings is to love and to be loved. No research has ever negated that. And all the research that's ever been done, and I promise you over the years a ton has been done, we desperately need to be loved. Do you know that in America, most people can't come up with 6 friends? And not only that, even if they came up with 6 friends, they would say really only 2, I guess, are really friends. And out of that, they would say, there's only one of them that I would even start to trust with my deepest secrets. That's where we are in America. We're disconnected. Part of it has to do with social media, but I won't go there right now. But we're disconnected. And yet, we know that as human beings, psychologically, it is so incredibly important for us to have some kind of connection with somebody else. Well, what's the problem? Oh, trust. Yeah, because some of you came out of the womb not very trustful. You can't help it. It's in your nature. If that's somebody at your table, just point at them and go, that's you. And no, don't do that. I mean, I didn't really mean for you to do that. Okay. But some of you have had some licks in life. How many of you have had something that's happened in your life and you would go, oh, dang, that was hard? Anybody? You lived long enough to do that? And sometimes those are the kind of things that make us stand back just a little bit further from the love, from the care, from the comfort. But to find that is so absolutely important. I want you to look at somebody and go, you need to be loved. 1, 2, 3. You need to be loved. So you all will talk to one another, right? I mean, this is okay. You do know some people here, I hope. All right. All right, good. So I want to tell you a story, if I may. I'm all over the room, and some of you, this is uncomfortable because you have to turn around. But just it's the way it is. Too bad. Okay. So I have 2 sons. They are interesting folks. One of them is the model son, went straight through school, went straight to law school, and he's a tax attorney in Nashville, Tennessee, attorney to the stars. Woo-hoo! How many of you have been to Nashville? All right. I love it. I love that he lives here. But my other son lives in Nashville too. I love him. My 9 felony boy. You and the legal folks, you got an idea what that might mean. Yeah, 9 felonies. I told the group last time that the FBI and DEA helped him retire from drug trafficking. I really appreciate that. It cost me most of my retirement to keep him out of prison. But he was my baby, and I knew in him there was something more than that. And I want you to know he's turned his entire life around. I'm so proud of him. He is a trainer, the physical kind of trainer in Nashville. He's got some well-known clients. And I'm so proud of him. And you know what else he has? You know those things that in your stomach that go like this? Well, some of you don't. I know that, but not in your own. But perhaps in other people's stomachs, the 6-pack, he's got like another one down there. I didn't know you could get another one down there. But he has that. So he's ripped. And so I'm so proud of him that he's turned his life around. And he's going out and he's talking to people about not doing that. Kids saying, please don't make these decisions I made. So I got 2 sons. My younger son, who's the attorney, incredibly competitive. And so when the older son got the training wheels off his bicycle, everybody know what training wheels are? They got the training wheels off his bicycle. He thought at that moment his should come off also. There's 18 months difference in them, and I said, honey, I'm just not going to take them off yet. Well, it's not fair. How many of you say it's not fair? Let's see your hands. Come on. You say it's not fair a lot, okay? You have some issues. Okay. Anyway, he goes, well, when can I get them off? And I said, okay, in 6 months we'll try it. He went and got a calendar. And he marked a day in 6 months. 6 months go by. I've forgotten about it. Saturday morning, he comes up, and I'm reading a book, and he scooches up under the book, and he had this thing of grabbing my face and going, Daddy, pay attention to me. And so I would, and he goes, today is the day. And I go, what is today? He goes, my training wheels come off. And I'm like, oh, dang. I should have said longer than that, okay? But he goes, I said, Michael, he goes, daddies can't lie to their sons. That's why he's an attorney, right there. He started. And so anyway, we go out, we take the training wheels off, and you know how you do this? Have you done this before? You hold the bicycle, and you walk with them, and you practice a little bit, and then there comes that moment that you let them go. How many of you have kids? How many of you have kids? How many of you have come to those moments? Come to those moments in the street or in high school or junior high or kindergarten or college or when they got married and you still had the bicycle in your hand, in your heart, and you let them go. It's the hardest thing, isn't it? Now, well, okay, some of them haven't quite gotten that concept themselves and they keep coming back, but that's okay. They'll launch one day. So Michael, when I let go, he just took right off, and he was just riding, and he knew he did really good. And it's Saturday morning. I'm out in the middle of the street going, Michael, you go! I'm sure the neighbors were liking that, and so he gets to the end of the street where he's got to turn around, and our deal was I walk down there, we turn around and you ride back. This is my competitive child. And he's like, I got this. You know what's going to happen? He's going to try to turn on his own. And you know what's going to happen? As he was doing that, he hit something in the road. The bicycle slid out from under him. He tumbled out and hit the curb. I'm going down the street. I'm running down the street. I run up to my baby's laying up against the curb. And he looks up at me and goes, Daddy, isn't my bicycle hurt? And I said, I don't care. We'll get you a new bicycle. And I just threw it over in the grass. I said, are you hurt? He goes, oh, I'm hurt. And then he did something. He said something. It's a really powerful word. He lifted up his arms to me, and he says this. He says, Daddy, gather me. What a powerful word. To be gathered. He didn't say, pick me up or hold me. He said, gather me. As a therapist, I've seen this. When it came to that moment that someone was gathered, and there was a trade. It was comfort for pain. It was truth for lie. It was something positive for something negative in the gathering. An exchange takes place between people. We need gatherers in our life. And I scooped him up. He wrapped his legs around my waist. He put his head right here. And you know what's coming? If you start crying like that, do you know what we call it in my profession? A gut cry, because it comes from down here. And when it finally breaks, it is powerful. It is really powerful. How many of you in your life have had a gut cry? I promise you that it was one of the most cleansing things that you ever did, psychologically. And so he lets it go. And on some days when I think about this, when I wrote the book, this story's in the book, I could feel his tears here on my shoulder. So I just held him. And we stood in the road holding my baby. You know when you stand, how many of you have movement? You know what I'm talking about? I want you to know that if you don't know this, it's a unique thing to you. This is the rhythm. This is a rhythm that you were born with. And to use this rhythm is incredibly self-comforting. And if there are times when you are highly stressed, if there are times when you are up against a wall, and you find yourself doing this, do not be surprised. Go with it. Let it happen. Because you are giving yourself love at that point. So I start to put him down. He goes, no, Daddy, you have to gather me more. And so I don't know how long we stood there. It doesn't make any difference. But he whispers in my ear this. Daddy, I think it's time to go home. So how long do you gather somebody? Till it's time to go home. How long do you need to be gathered? Till it's time to go home. Till it's time to go home ultimately, or till it's time to go home in that moment. You need someone, darling, to gather you. And you need to have the opportunity in your life to gather someone else. We desperately need that. I'm going to ask you to do something. I hope that everybody here at least has in the ballpark of somebody that would do that for you. Do you? You don't have to raise your hands. Do you? Everybody, do you? Would you do this? I found that in groups that you can be by yourself even though there's everybody else around. Would you be by yourself for just a second in this group? And I want you to do this. I want you to just say that person's name out loud. 1, 2, 3. Now I'd like you to do this with it. I want you to say, I am so thankful for, and then say that person's name. You ready? 1, 2, 3. If that person is still alive, because some people don't have that, but if that person is still alive, I'm going to challenge you to do something. Before you leave, if that person has social media of any kind, would you please send them a text and say, I was in this session and this guy said that I should send you a text and say that I love you, if you have to explain it. If you don't have to explain it, just say, I thought of you today and I want you to know how loved you are. What would it mean to you if you, on your phone, got that text? Would that not would that not mean something to you, to someone to tell you that they loved you? I don't think we tell people stuff. Went to Starbucks right before I got on the road. And so I got my stuff, and I thought, you better go to the bathroom before you hit the road. So I went into the Starbucks, and I really love Starbucks because you can choose either bathroom. I'm tickled by that for some reason. And so I went in and I used the restroom. And this lady had come in as I was rounding the corner to the bathroom, and she was going out just like that. But when she came in, it just hit me. This is a very beautiful woman. I wonder if anybody's told her that. And so I opened the door for her, and she's going out. And I said, ma'am, I hope you'll take this as a compliment, but I think that you are a very beautiful woman. And I really hope before the day's over, somebody that really matters tells you that. And she turned to me, and she goes, well, thank you. And I mean, she teared up, boom, just like that. We're hungry to hear that we are loved. Go appreciate your gatherers. Will you do that? I want you to turn to somebody and say, I hope Valentine's goes well for you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. How many of you have experienced in your work some stress? Anybody? Those of you that are not raising your hands, either you don't work, or you go to work and don't work. Okay? Everybody's got stress. Everybody's got stress. I have the most wonderful job in my company. I do. I have absolutely the most wonderful job. I do most of their public relations. And so I get to go in those 20 counties and just meet people, let them know what we do, let them know how they can get our services. I take people to lunch when there's some money. And if not, I take them stuff. And I smooze. I do that. And then I teach. I go to our different sites and I teach so they can get CEUs to keep their licensure. It's a good gig. And then I get to travel around and do this. Amazing. I got an awesome life. There are people at work that hope that I retire soon. Ain't going to happen. There's a few that really probably don't like me, and they're kind of hoping something worse happens. Matt, you don't look well. I'm fine. You're not getting my job. So if you had stuff on mindfulness, then you heard the word meditation. And that's a good word. That's a legitimate word. I prefer the word stillness. Because stillness is something that you can do without full-blown meditation. But it's something that's incredibly healthy. Like just for a minute, where you are, be the only person in your world. And just take a couple of deep breaths and let them out. You don't even have to close your eyes. Just take a couple of deep breaths. Be the only person there. Already, in just doing that, there's some endorphins in your brain, and they're going, can we go now? Can we go now? Just doing that stops everything. I would suggest this comes from a mental health professional, 3 times a day at work, go in the bathroom, lock your door, and just be there and be still for about 3 minutes. I told the people downstairs that we don't have lids on our commodes, so it's awkward. If you don't sit just right, you get wet, and then that presents a whole new set of problems. And just be still. Just be still. And look for moments of stillness. Look for moments. If I said, have you ever had a moment where it seemed like of such peace that it seemed like all the tumblers in the universe had come together, and for just a little bit, you were really okay? Does anybody know what I'm talking about when I say that? Do you? There's some people that will be in the room and they really won't know what I'm talking about, and I understand that. And I want you to have this. I'm going to tell you a story, another story, if I may. Okay? So I learn something new every year. I'm learning to play the violin. Oh, it's horrible. My dog will tell you it's horrible. And he hears that, and he goes to the farthest bedroom. I know, but I'm going to be great one day. If I ever come back, I will bring my violin and play for you, maybe. Maybe. So I think it's good to learn something new. And this year, I was going to learn to kayak. How many kayakers do I have in here? Kayakers? Very good. I'm so impressed by you. I get so uncomfortable with my legs stretched out that way. It just gets awkward for me. But I was determined. So when I was rich in my life, I've been rich, I've been poor, I've been in between, everywhere. But in a rich part of my life, I owned part of a condo on Hilton Head Island off South Carolina. Anybody know Hilton Head Island? You know Hilton Head Island? Just saying, it's an awesome place. And so my boys got to kind of grow up there on the island. I was real excited about that for them. All right, so I'm there, but I'm divorced now. But my father-in-law loves me. Yeah. And so he would call me up. He'd go, hey, there's not going to be anybody at the condo, so we won't say anything to her, but you go, his daughter, but you go over and you know where the keys are and you can use the condo for the week. And I'm going, all right, this is good. So I was over there by myself, and I decided that I would learn how to kayak. I go down to the kayak place where you kayak, and I walk in, and this guy's in this little booth, and I go, I want to go kayaking. And he goes, well, we're going to go out kind of at the end of the day. And he goes, so you're the only one on it now. So he said, well, we'll have some fun. I said, all right, that's great. So I paid him the money, and he said, so let's get in here and kind of take care of this stuff first. So he showed me some basics. So now I'm walking back to the parking lot, and coming my way, if you will not think less of me if I say hot women, would that not be, I mean, not to objectify you as women. I don't mean that, but they were hot, okay? I do not mean that at all. They knew they were. And they knew they were, and they had on like the beach strut. And if you don't know what that is, you need to pay more attention the next time you're at the beach. And you know what the beach strut is, sir? Yeah, he does. He knows. And I'm like, hello. I go, hi, y'all. Hey. And they're headed, you know where they're headed? To the kayak place. It's going to be a good night. So I come back like 15 minutes early. You know, I've spent some time in grooming. And so I come back, and I look as I'm driving up, and I see these 3 kayaks, and they're like 200 yards out that way. And I'm looking at that, and I go, that looks like the guy and that looks like the 2 women and I go, I know I'm early. So I go down, and on the window he said, so sorry, had to leave early. Yeah, I bet you did. I bet you had to leave early. Yeah, buckaroo, that's great. So he goes, I've left a map, and you can kind of do this yourself, I believe. Go, oh, okay, this is good. And at the end he goes, if you want your money back, I will give it to you. Dang, Skippy, I'm going to get my money back, but I'm not going to let this discourage me. I'm going to kayak. So I try to follow the map as best I can. I come around this little bend. This was out in the Bay Area. I come around this little bend, and there's these black mounds sticking up. It's low tide. There's these black mounds that are sticking up, okay? And I go, they look like little volcanoes. And so I went over, and it was oysters just stacked on top of one another. It was amazing. And so I would row into them, and they would spit. These little shoots would come out of the oysters like little waterfalls. It was amazing. And I was messing with them, and it was cruelty to... somebody probably would have reported me if they saw it. But so I'd roll up to one mountain, and they'll spit. And it was just like being at the... What is that place in the Bellagio? With the fountains, only it's oysters. So then it hit me, I'm probably being cruel, and besides the sun was starting to set, and I thought I want to get back before dark. That would have been a trip. So I turn around, and as I'm turning around, something scrapes under my kayak, and it goes like this. Holy moly. And so I think, okay, it's kind of low tide, probably rock. Yes, let's paddle. So I took one more stroke, and it hit again, and it went just like that. And I'm thinking, okay, I know what it is. I've seen way too many science fiction movies in my life. So here's my picture in my mind. The mother of all oysters comes up out of the sea and envelops me and the kayak and takes us down to the depths. Years later, when she is finally caught, they find inside her a man and a kayak paralyzed perfectly. And then it started. I looked over to the side, and then it started coming up. And it was dark and big, and it came up, and it rose up, and it came out of the water, and it was a sea turtle right beside me. Now, you've seen pictures of sea turtles. I think they clean them up when they take pictures of them because they're nasty little things. Then they have barnacles on them, and they're there. But it's a sea turtle, and it's like, here's a kayak, here's the sea turtle, we're cuddling, and I got to touch it, don't I? I got to touch it, don't I? And so I touch it, and it rotates its head around. Now, the eyes are on the side, so I'm getting looked at from the side. And I know immediately it is a female sea turtle. Why? Because I got blown off by the other two females, okay? And fate has brought me and it's looking at me, and the kayak scoots up a little bit in the water, and I've got to, I don't know what they do. I don't know if they like grab you and bring you under. I don't know what, but I just had to touch its head. And I reached out and I stroked its head just like I would my puppy, and it closed its eyes. And I sat there and I just touched its head. It didn't go anywhere. I thought surely it's gone, but it was right there. And in that moment, I realized some things. I realized that the sea was glass. I felt this breeze that was so just the beginning of a breeze. And the sun was starting to set. And you could hear the birds call. And in that moment, wonder happened. Me and a sea turtle and a sunset and stillness. And for a moment, nothing else in the whole world mattered except that wonder and the wonder of that moment. And it went under, and I found my way back. But guys, I'm just saying that's around us everywhere, and we miss it doggone every single day. We miss the wonder that is around us that could bring us in to a peace like that. I got up this morning and it was raining, and then it started clearing, and you could see the wind. You could see what the wind was doing. The wind was catching the pines along the highway and whipping them, and it was chasing the clouds, and out where it rained so much and the fields had flooded and it came up to the edge of the interstate, it was causing whitecaps across the field. Whitecaps. And then just on out in the field, there was these thousands and thousands of geese, white geese, that were just settled out there. And that is wonder. Or you can look at it and go, oh, look, the wind's blowing. Or you can stop for just a minute and you can take it in, because it is you in some ways. And we miss these moments absolutely every single day. But they are moments, I promise, this is from a mental health professional to you. They are moments that we desperately need. Times when we connect with something, something that has power, something that has meaning, something that has purpose, something that has beauty. And you have to purpose to do this. And if you do not purpose to do this, then you will miss it. I did a thing on intention, and part of my intention says, I will see the beauty and wonder every day. I am thankful and grateful that I see beauty and wonder every day. And I'm just saying, dear, find that in your life. It is such a powerful thing. It is such a needed thing. You want to be happy? These are the things that make people happy. These are the things that make people well. These are the things that make people their very best. Body, soul, spirit. These are the things that keep us healthy and whole. These are the things that cause us to start to love ourselves and to start to love other people. When you bring these things into your life, it changes negative thinking into positive thinking. Your brain actually shifts to the left prefrontal cortex, and you can keep it there if you keep beauty and positivity and things like this coming into your life. It's an absolute miracle. You guys that were in the session before, this okay? Where are you? I'm more interested in you. Y'all, we good? Thumbs up? Thumbs up over here? Thumbs up? Okay, good. I hope the rest of you are enjoying it, but they really are my peeps now. I wish I could, man, I just wish I could. By the way, this whole thing is a 5-hour interactive presentation. So here are the stories, here are the principles, but there's a whole lot of places that we could go with this that we don't have time to go this afternoon. In everything that talks about positivity, thankfulness and gratefulness show up. In everything that talks about a healthy life, gratefulness and thankfulness show up. I'm going to say a book that you might consider. One is 1,000 Gifts, and I can't think of her name, but 1,000 Gifts. Yes, thank you very much. Awesome book about thankfulness, isn't it? And then there's a book by Rhonda Briney, who I mentioned wrote The Secret. She's written another book. It's 28 Days to Thankfulness. She will take you through the details of your life in 28 days. And if you do it, you will come out of that being grateful and thankful. You will be a grateful and thankful machine. I walked in this room in the back in my head. I'm so grateful and thankful for each person that is there. I'm so thankful for whatever brought them here to this moment and whatever brought me to this moment to be with them. I'm so grateful and thankful for this absolute incredible hotel, this room where we can meet. I'm so grateful and thankful that on the way home you're going to take care of them, God. I'm so grateful and thankful. This goes through my mind continually. And it's made me a better person. If you will journal 5 things a day that are positive, if you will journal 5 things a day, not only can you shift from being a negative person, because in a room this big, some of you are curmudgeons. You are. I won't ask people to point, but you know who you are, and you tend to be negative, and you tend to be hard for some reason, and you gotta let your heart be broken. But you can change the way that you think. You can change the way that you feel by using thankfulness and positivity. I go to 4? Is that right? Oh, well, I'm good. Ready for another story? Well, this is not it. I'm getting ready to go to Cuba. Yes, see, I am going to Cuba. I am. It's going to be a mission trip. I'm not going to the resort. I'm going out to get dirty and nasty. It's awesome. I wore what I wore because I'm taking this to Cuba. I won't ever have it again. This is a chance for me to go through everything because there's people that have nothing. And for somebody to get a sweater like this in Cuba, it makes them think that they are so wealthy. And for me, it's just another sweater in the drawer. Please do not be defined by your stuff. It is not you. It's not bad to have stuff. Not at all. But you've got to ask yourself the question, who owns who? So I'm in Guatemala. Well, I'm here with you, but the story starts in Guatemala. I'm in Guatemala, and I'm staying on a compound that is really unique in Quetzaltenango, Guatemala. It is a mission, but it has a college, a school. It has a medical center. And so anyway, the first week I was there, I got assigned to a team of 15 people. And so my captain came and said, "Matt, it's time for us to go to the market." So we all pile in the van. You know why there were 15 people in your group? Because it's a 15-passenger van. And so they put you in the 15-passenger van, and we went to the market, and it wasn't Kroger's or Walmart or whatever the name of your big supermarket is. It was outdoors. And I mean, you talk about some fresh cut meat, they'd kill it and butcher it for you right there. Stuff that you had never seen before. And I'm going, whoa, this is something. Look at the flies on that. Okay. So they said, we want you to get some fruits and vegetables. And I thought, I'm buying this as part of how we're all going to eat. And so I get some fruits and vegetables, and they point out things. I got 2 great big sacks full. And they said, okay, back on the van, everybody. We got back on the van. But instead of heading back to the compound, we head out of town. And I asked the obvious question, Captain Obvious. It goes, isn't the compound that way? I don't know how well I trust you yet. and they go, oh, you'll see. I hate it when people say that to me. Aren't some of you want to know? I mean, even with a sense of adventure, don't you like to have to at least know something about where you're about to be hauled off to? So we drive a little bit, and we turn into the city dump. Now, I'm just a logical thinker, and I'm going, we left to step out. Think about that for a minute. So we turned into the city dump, and I said, well, what are we going to do? And you know what they said? What did they say? What did they say? Oh, you'll see. That's what they said. So it wasn't too long before all of their garbage trucks came in, which are really pickups that the bed flip up on, and they have high boards on the side. Anybody, you got a picture of this? You maybe have seen this before. And so they came in. There were at least a couple of dozen of them. They lined up in a row. And all of a sudden, I was looking out at the dump, and I saw movement, and there were people out in the dump. And this whistle blew, and these people come running, and the trucks dump, and these people come out of the dump, and they run up in the garbage trucks, and they start throwing stuff back to the people behind them. They throw back clothes. They throw back things that might be used for shelter. They throw back food that it might have been thrown away, but to them, they will still eat it. They kept throwing this back. There are 5,000 people who live on the garbage dump in Quetzaltenango, Guatemala. 5,000 people who live on the garbage dump. Have you ever been to your garbage dump? It's an eye-opener. You might drive out there sometime next week and just look at it and go, what if I lived here? What if this was my life? I just begin to, I cry easy, and I don't apologize for that anymore. And I just stood there with my sacks outside the van and just crying was what I was watching. And something pulled on my shorts, and I looked down, and there was this little girl, maybe 5 years old, beautiful. The Guatemalan people are so beautiful, just looking up at me with those beautiful dark eyes. And she points to herself, and she points to my sacks. And I go, oh, yeah, darling, these are yours. These are yours. So she goes. Now, there's some rules when you are in Guatemala that you must follow at all times. Oops. You must not go anywhere that you don't know. You must not go with people you don't know. If you go somewhere, you should take somebody with you. And if anything seems a little dubious, it would probably be good to avoid that. What could happen with a 5-year-old girl on the garbage dump that wants me to follow her out into the fray? So I start going. I know they're going to be on me, but I'm just doing the invisibility thoughts. You know what I'm talking about? Nobody sees me. I'm invisible. I'm just walking. Nobody sees me. And I pulled it off until I turned the corner and started to disappear. And then they started yelling mad. You can't do that. You have to come back. And I'm like, neener, neener, neener. I'm not coming back. I'm going to give this little girl this stuff. And if you send me home for that, then that's why I came to Guatemala. And I come up on this site, and our mother's sitting out there. She has a fire. She has a little pot on the fire. And she says something to her mother in Spanish. Her mother jumps up and comes and just runs and grabs me and hugs me tight. Ain't no showers out on the dump. If I say to you wood smoke and poverty, do you know what that means? Do you know what that smells like? If you don't, bless you. But if you do, but that was one of the best hugs I ever got. Her husband comes up out of this little thing. They've dug like a hobbit hole, and they put stuff across the front so the weather can't come in. And they've roofed it over, and that's where they live. Back there, it's a dirt floor. It's really pretty nice for the dump. And he comes out of there, he can speak English. He used to be an English professor at the university. But here's the way the university works there. If you're in favor with the political party that is in control, you got a job. But if you are not in favor with that political party, guess what? You don't have a job. So they fired him, spent up all his savings, and the reason they went to live on the city dump is they had nowhere else to go, and they knew people that lived there. And they lived on the city dump. Well, just think, if you had like a PhD in English, and your opportunity was to live on the city dump, changes everything. So I just wept. And so I could hear him screaming, and I said, you guys, I've got to go. He goes, not before we bless you. I want you to get this. I got to go, guys. I'm so sorry they're calling me. I'm already in trouble. Not before we bless you. Not before we bless you. Nothing. A hole in the city dump to live in. And they gather around me. And the daddy prays. Prays something like this. He says, oh, Heavenly Father, thank you that you brought this man all the way from America to bring us food. But then you always bring us food, and we are so thankful. We are so thankful that you've given us a place to live. We are so thankful that we are here together as a family. We are so thankful that we love one another and we have friends who love us. We are so thankful for those things. And now we bless this man. May this man always have a place to live. May he always have clothes to wear. May he always have food. And may there always be someone who loves him. I am total snot. So I go back to the van. Where have you been? I don't want to talk about it now. I didn't talk about it for a long time. Profoundly changed my life. I came back to the States. I went through my closets. I went through my house. I can't tell you how much stuff I gave away because it didn't matter. Not because I felt guilty about having it. I didn't feel guilty about having it at all. I mean, I worked for it. I bought it. It's mine. But you know what? There was so much of it. And so I found people that really needed it. I can't tell you how powerful that is. I'm going to challenge you to do something. I'm going to challenge you that when you get home from this, that maybe you go through your house. You don't have to clean house like I did, but I'm talking about just finding something that you really don't need and finding somebody else that does and giving them a gift of it. I cannot tell you how it will change you on the inside. It will transform you on the inside to give something away. Please think about journaling. Please think about these books and maybe making this part of your life. The happiest people on earth are the people that journal thankfulness and gratefulness. I'm doing so good. Good math. Good boy. Oh my. See what happens. Look at this. Should I be able to do it with this now? No? You're going to take care of it? No? Not Bennett. One more. One more. There we are. This is so important. How many of you have seen a bumper sticker that says something like "Practice acts of kindness"? You all seen that? And so I just everything I've read talks about how powerful this is. Once a day to do something good for somebody else. Now, maybe it's giving them something that you don't need, but there's a lot of other things that you can do too. And sometimes the most powerful things that you can do is give them your words. But for sure, to do one good deed each day. And not only that, to journal it. I keep a journal, and I have several things in it. I write down the things I'm grateful and thankful for that day, and there's usually more than 5, but 5 is great. And I keep a record of the deeds that I do each day. Not because I'm arrogant about it or prideful about it, but it's just there. And to look back and go, you know, on that day, wow, what a difference that made in that person's life. And that's the stuff that gives us meaning and purpose. It's the stuff that causes us to love ourselves, and we need to love ourselves. So you guys, an act of kindness every day. She lived next door to me. I've moved. I moved about a year ago, but she lived next door to me before I moved. 90 pounds, warrior. She lived with her aunt who took her in after her husband almost beat her to death. And not only did he beat her, but he beat a baby that was going to die anyway because of all the birth defects. And the aunt took him in. Is that aunt, I mean, however you think about heaven or brownie points in the universe, that aunt's got a whole bunch of brownie points. Took him in. I would speak to her now and then, but she was not going to engage anybody. She was taking care of that baby. And they had to make trips to the hospital in Memphis. They had to make trips to the hospital in Little Rock. She drove a car that was baling wire and duct tape. Maybe you all don't come from a place where people have cars that are held together by baling wire and duct tape, but I can assure you here in Arkansas, there is plenty of baling wire and duct tape cars. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You don't have one, do you, sir? You have one?
Yes.
I thought you'd have a hot car, man.
I have that too.
Oh, you have a hot car too. I'm not disappointed. I knew. Okay. But every time I would try to say hello to her, this would happen. Does this tell you something? And anyway, it happened to ice and snow one day, and I was coming in from work. I knew what I was going to have, chili. All right? I'd made it that morning before I went to work. It's snow and ice outside. What's better than chili, right? Right? Well, I mean, for some of us. I have learned a lesson. Do not feed chili to your dog. Because it does stuff in the snow that is really ugly. You hope it keeps snowing so you don't have to see it. Poor baby. My dog's name is Jake, if I didn't say that. Anyway, so I was looking forward to going in. I have one of those fireplaces that you can like push the button and it lights up, you know, gas fireplace. And so I was going to be in front of the fire, watch a little TV, maybe go to sleep on the couch. Jake cuddles up. It'd be kind of cool to do that. But there she is, right in the driveway next door, out there scraping that poor car, trying to get the ice off the windshield. She's making no progress. I can see her. She's leaning into it with her entire 90 pounds, and nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. So I'm going to go in the house because it's warm, and there's fire, and there's chili, and there's Jake. But instead, I go to the end of my garage, and I get my scraper. One good deed. This is imprinted in me. This is imprinted in me hard. One good deed a day. And I get my scraper, and I go over, and I'm walking in the yard between us, and I say, excuse me, could I help you scrape? And she jumped. And she goes, what do you want? And I said, dear, I only want to help you scrape your windshield, that's all. And she goes, well, why do you want to do that? And I said, because it looks like you need some help. And she goes, okay, you stay over there. I go, okay, I will. And I said, can I make one suggestion? If you start the car and like put the heater on, defrost, that it might come off. She goes, can you do that? She didn't even know you could do that. How many of you knew you could do that? Everybody in the room? I hope everybody in the room knew you could do that. Does that tell you something? So we started scraping. I said, do you have to go to work tonight? She worked at this restaurant that was very lenient about her emergencies to the hospital. And she worked, and we were scraping, and it began to come off. I said, do you have to work tonight? She goes, yeah, I can't believe it. And it's a wing place. And she goes, nobody's going to come in tonight. I said, well, you know what I hope? I said, I hope that there are people sit all over Jonesboro just getting in from work, and I hope they're thinking, or on the way home from work, I hope they're thinking, you know what would be good? I'd like me some wings tonight. And that they're going to come and see you. You're going to make great tips. And it's going to be a good night for you. And here's what she says. Why are you making fun of me? I said, oh, darling, I'm not making fun of you. I really mean it. I hope that happens. And she goes, well, okay, thank you. I go back in the house. She takes off. One good deed. They are waiting for you everywhere. All you have to do is purpose it. Write it down. Put it somewhere where you see it. One good deed today. And you don't even have to look for them after a while. They come and they find you. Something that you could do. And sometimes, you know what all it is? It's just a word. It's just to say, sir, I hope your life is good. And if there's something in it that needs to be fixed, I hope it gets fixed real good and real fast. Just a kind word. Words are such powerful, powerful things. One last story to close. I'm not going to get past this. Is that okay? That enough? You got some stuff? Okay. I'm very good friends with a lady who's over a program at one of the junior colleges in Northeast Arkansas. And I'm good friends with her. She had a horrible year 2 years ago. Her husband of 23 years fell in love with somebody else and left. Her son, who was 18 years old, just graduated from high school, became incredibly ill. And it was something that they, no matter where they took him, they couldn't figure out what it was, and he was dying. So her husband leaves, her son's dying. And I didn't find this out for a while, but being the good friend I was, and she's only 40 minutes away, being the good friend I was, I reached out to her and I sent her a text. Being the good friend that I am, and that she's only 40 miles away, and that she's going through the worst time in her life, the comfort of a text. Isn't that wonderful? Makes you just warm inside, doesn't it? I'm here if you need me, blah, 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 blah. So I felt kind of bad about that. Have you all ever done that? Haven't you all been in situations where you knew there was something you really should do to help somebody else, and you didn't do it, and it kind of haunts you later? Everybody got one of those? The sins of omission. So, I go and speak to her class once a year. It's time for me to go speak to her class. This is hanging out there like a cloud in my mind. I get out of my car. She comes running across the parking lot. She jumps up in my arms and she hugs me. And this came out of my mouth. It's coming out of my mouth. And this is so good. This is so good. It's so powerful. When you don't know what else to say. I said, oh, my beautiful friend, I'm just so sorry for all that's happened. And she pressed into me. And she broke and started crying. So I'm holding her there in the parking lot. She's crying. She's crying. And I go, oh, wow. I said, we got to go into class, don't we? Maybe I should have saved this apology for later. And she pushes back from me. And she keeps her hands on my chest. And she looks at me. She wants me to see her say this. And she goes, I'm not crying because of all of that stuff that happened. I'm crying because I cannot remember the last time that someone called me beautiful. It doesn't have to be the word beautiful. But when's the last time someone called you beautiful? You guys, you want a better life? You want the best life that you can have? Then start finding people to call beautiful. Allow them to do the same to you. I want you to turn to somebody at the table and go, Dang, you're beautiful. 1, 2, 3. So, some of you already, some of you did not get the concept of dang. Okay, I see that. Dang, you're beautiful. Let's try this again. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Dang, you're beautiful. There you go. It is. It is. You guys, again, there is so much that's here, but I hope that what I've shared with you, the stories will help you remember these things. You got the slides to take home with you, and I hope that you will risk being thankful, that you will risk being loved, that you will risk taking those moments to try to find wonder, that you will risk the one good deed. Hope that you will do that. Hope you'll take that home with you and do that. But besides that, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I want to bless you, if I may. You carry blessing around with you. All of you do. You carry blessing. It's in your heart, it's in your mouth if you put it there. You have the power every day to bless somebody. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be fancy, but you hold the power in yourself to bless another person every day. So I bless you. May you have the things that you need in life. May you have food, may you have clothing, may you have shelter, but more than that, may you have someone to love you. May you have someone that lets you love them back. May you have gatherers, oh plenty. May you find a new level of thankfulness and gratefulness in your life. May you be taken by wonder in such a way that the stillness brings you deep, deep peace. I bless you. And now would you do this? Would you turn to someone at the table and go, I bless you. Thank you all very much. Please.
Thank you, Matt, for that inspiring last plenary session. Please take a moment, certainly, to rate this session. And please take a moment. Matt will be here for a little bit if anyone needs to come up and get a hug. He is available for those. Thank you, you beautiful people. And I will pass you off to Paul to close us down.
Well, thank you, TJ. And this does close our mid-year 2019 mid-year conference. And I want to thank our great speakers, our great exhibitors and sponsors, but more importantly, thank all of you in cyber world for joining us here. And just a couple of announcements on your table. The National Center for State Courts actually sponsors the annual HR Summit, so that information is on your table. Hopefully you'd be interested in going to that or pass it back to those back in your court. And we hope that you visit us and join us in Las Vegas. And along the lines of what Matt had shared, we're actually at the Bellagio. So when you actually see the Bellagio, you can, recall the oyster pyramid. So we hope that you join us. It's in July. The conference registration will open shortly after the mid-year conference. And how we open this conference this morning, I would encourage you, if you're not members of NACM, we do so much more than provide these great educational opportunities. We have resources, webinars, I had mentioned the podcast. Please consider joining as a member of the association. And for those of you that want to get involved in the organization, please join one of our committees. You're more than welcome. Again, we meet monthly, and we hope that you can join us. So again, thank you, all of you, and we hope to see you in Las Vegas.
On myself